Hello everyone, and my name is Starmatske. I wanted to do something a bit different this time around. As you can see, this is clearly not a gaming video, nor is it one of my update videos. No, it's a bit of a ramble video, honestly. And what I'm going to try and do here is I'm just going to talk about some things that are on my mind at this point. Just a heads up, if you're not into kind of talking about, I'd say, universal problems and trying to look at them in a relative and or realistic way, then just like tune out now and just wait for more gaming videos, which will be up on the channel quite soon. Actually, I've got quite some stuff coming up, but honestly, I'm at a point in my life where you kind of start to realize that nothing is really what it seems sometimes. And more to the point that sometimes you kind of have to settle for less than you would like. But on the other hand, that does not mean that you should not try to get as much as you want. Then again, that kind of that process of thought has created people like Hitler and Stalin, of course. But what I mean is that basically, in a nutshell, if you want something, you have to go out there and get it. Because this is not a world where people will bring you happiness. This is not a world where people will take care of you because they want to. There are people like that, of course, and count yourself lucky if you know people like that, if you have friends like that, because that is truly a blessing. If you know someone who is there for you night and day, that you can just phone up at whatever point in the night and can say like, bro or gal, I just really need to talk right now, so head on over here, or can we like talk for 5 minutes on the phone. Really count yourself blessed, because that is probably one of the biggest joys that life has to offer. On that note, I think it's quite important to realize that sometimes you hear the argument that says like, oh, you're this kind of person or you're that kind of a person, usually meaning like, okay, I know you in this or that way, and I view you in this or that way. And what's kind of wrong with that argument is that, well, in my opinion at least, sorry, what's kind of wrong with that argument is that if you know someone, you're already looking at them in a subjective manner. Your own opinion, you can make it as objective as you want, but to some degree, it'll always be subjective, especially when it comes to these things. Of course, you can quote various scientists and you can talk about just facts, and of course that's not really what I'm getting at here. I mean, sometimes you will behave in a certain way, and that way is, or that manner that you portray yourself in, is the way that people will get to know you, and people will see you in this society, in this life, in this world that we have. And to some degree, you are always making a choice, a deliberate choice to behave that way. So I find it to be quite interesting to just ask yourself from time to time, like, is this really me? Is this really what I'm getting at? Because it's quite easy to play a role, honestly. I can go outside and behave in a certain way and then come home and behave in a totally different way, and nobody will ever know. And that's a scary thing, because that leads on to the issue of trust. And trust is something quite sacred as well, because how and when do you know when you can trust someone? Of course, they can say like, okay, you can trust me and I'll be there for you, and etc., etc. But I found that the only way to know for certain if somebody is genuine when they say that is to actually put that to the test. And obviously, I do not mean that as a conscious decision, because that would make you a horrible person, and quite rightly so. What I mean is that if you're going through some trouble, some calamities, whatever, and you know of a person who has told you at some point in his or her life, like, I'll be there, just give me a call. Give that person a call. Like, why wouldn't you do that? And in the end, if it turns out to be shitty advice and something that you're not really comfortable with, then you know that, and that is something that you don't have to worry about anymore. But if you do find that person that you can like really pour your heart out and say whatever you want to, then that is quite a blessing indeed. And I think you should be quite thankful if that happens to you. But what I was getting at originally is that some people will say, okay, I know you in this or that manner, so you're a good person, or you're a bad person, or you're an annoying person, or something along those lines. And as I addressed earlier, that just has to do with behavior and the way you act around some people. And obviously you can't act the same way around everyone, because some people you're going to like and some people you're going to dislike. And it would take some very high degree of mental capability to completely shut that out. And I mean that in a way that if you really don't like someone, to not let that factor influence your behavior, I think that would be quite an achievement indeed. So yeah, some people will say that, okay, say you're a good person, and then when stuff happens, when you get in trouble or when something befalls on you or whatever, they'll say like, oh, you really don't deserve this. Like, you should have better. You should not be enduring this right now because you're a good person. And I've always wondered, like, why is that? And by no means do I want to say like, okay, everybody says to me that I'm a good person, because believe me, they don't. But that to me is quite interesting, because that is kind of implying that there is a plan for all of us. More to the point, that there is a plan for us to have it good, to make sure that everything turns out in a good way. And honestly, I don't really get that notion, because if there is a plan for everyone, doesn't that mean that there is that there are good plans for some people and bad plans for other people? So I just find that really difficult to believe, because in my opinion, the universe really doesn't like owe us a certain sense of goodness, or it doesn't owe us the gift of a good life or a happy life or whatever. The only thing that I've really learned throughout my entire life is that if you really, really want something, and if you're really convinced that you want to have this, and that you are prepared to do whatever it takes, then honestly, I think you should just go for it, because it's, in my opinion, it's better to make the decision and say like, okay, I'm just going to see what this does, and I'll go with it from there. And eventually, if it explodes in your face, then, so be it. Then that's a lesson that you learn. But the feeling of inner doubt, and that feeling of, oh, what would have happened if A, B, or C, or what would have happened if I did X, Y, or Z, I think that is a lot worse than knowing the actual answer. And there's I don't know if any of you, any of the potential viewers who have continued to listen on to this point, and good job. I don't know if any of you like to read, but there was a quote in the second book of the Song of Ice and Fire called The Clash of Kings. If any of you have read that, this is not a major spoiler. No, don't be alarmed or anything. It's actually not a spoiler at all. Where one of the main characters basically said, like, the truth is a dish that many people want, but that they seldom enjoy the taste of it. And I think that's basically just hitting the nail on the head, because knowing the truth can be quite hard and painful. It can be, it can destroy things. It can be disastrous, but it also gives you the gift of certainty. And taking away that doubt is, in my opinion, probably one of the best things that you can have, or probably one of the best things that you can experience, because in my opinion and in my experience, living in doubt is one of the worst things that has ever happened to me. And I've actually had that a couple times. And again, I'm not like talking about your typical teenage problems like, oh my god, my mother won't let me go to the movies, or oh my god, I have to go to a party but I cannot find anyone to drive me, or something along those lines. That is not what I'm getting at here. I mean, I am trying to rationalize some deeper and some bigger problems than that. And sometimes I think it's quite useful to talk about this and to not only express my opinion, but like voice my opinion as well. I think that's quite important for me, because I've always found that stating your opinion and not necessarily idolizing yourself as a character, but basically making yourself known as a character. Not making yourself known implies that you're saying to the world, "This is me, and I want to be famous." That's not what I mean. What I do mean is that you let other people know that you are a person, you are a certain entity, and if you give your opinion, even if it's a bad one, if you give your opinion, then you basically say to people, "I am a person, I am an entity to be respected." Not necessarily respected, because not every opinion deserves respect, but if you do have the courage to come out for your opinion, and to come out for your feelings, your thoughts, your emotions, your ideas, etc., etc., if you have enough courage to come out for those, then that means you're determined to stand behind them, and I think that's a very good thing. Obviously, as I've said in the start of the video, that also breeds people like Hitler and Stalin and etc., fundamentalists, basically. What you really do have to realize then is that not every opinion is worth hearing, or rather, not every opinion is worth listening to with great care. I'll put it like that, in my opinion, at least. And again, this is my opinion of an opinion of an opinion. So if by this point you say like, okay, you're talking total bullshit, then feel free to tune out. But I just need to like vent and get this off my chest. I do feel that obviously we are with a very large amount of people on this planet. That number is probably going up every day, and in that regard, you do have to think that every person on this planet has an opinion of his or her own. And would hearing all of those opinions really help us? Well, maybe, because there could be a lot of new intelligent people there just waiting to be discovered. There could be a lot of artists there just waiting to be discovered. There could be a lot of just I don't want to use the term useful people, because again that implies the wrong things, but there could be a lot of undiscovered gold out there that we simply haven't discovered yet, and obviously that's a good thing. But that is where the realism and the ability, Jesus, that is a difficult word, the ability to distinguish between, I wouldn't necessarily say right and wrong, but in this scenario, it's maybe better to say useful and not very useful, because sometimes you just can't care about everybody's opinion, because, well, honestly, some opinions are just retarded. And should you listen to opinions and take them into account and think about them? Yes. But should you act on everybody's opinion? No, absolutely not. Because, for example, this YouTube channel, I enjoy what I'm doing, and if people come up to me and say, like, you suck and I think you should die, then I'm not really going to treat that as an opinion that is relevant to me, because, frankly, I don't care about that. As long as you're being free in doing what you like and doing what you want to do, I think that that is a very, very good thing to have, or a very good thing to experience, as long as you're not in the practicing of your freedom, as long as you're not taking away the ability for someone else to experience their freedom as well. I think that's a very good thing, and that's a very important distinction. Sorry, my brain is a bit pooping here. That's a very important difference as well. Like being free, but not taking away someone else's freedom because of your freedom. I think that's very important, and that's very important to think about as well. But basically, what I wanted to say with this video is, if you really think that you want something, be that a girl or an education or money or a goal, if you really want to achieve something, just go out and work for it. Just do it, because you do not want to be, at the end of the day, you do not want to sit in your chair or lie in your bed thinking, shit, I could have done X, Y, and Z, and I didn't because I was too lazy or too afraid or whatever. Just try to grab the opportunity as it comes, because if this life is one thing, it certainly isn't fair. And that is so very important to realize, that this life does not owe you a sense of happiness. This life doesn't owe you anything. You get an amazing chance of experiencing this phenomenon head first, and you are given such an amazing chance to live this life as you and I can see it right now. And I think that is such an amazing gift, and that shouldn't be wasted. If any of you enjoy some poetry, then you might have heard of Robert Frost, who was an American poet in the 19th to the 20th century. And he wrote a poem called The Road Not Taken. If you like these kind of subject matters, then you should look into that. But the poem ends with saying, "Two roads diverge in the woods, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference." And I think, honestly, that is exactly what I was getting at in this little monologue. It's just one of those things that I just wanted to talk about for a second, and I wanted to share that in my opinion. If you enjoy this kind of stuff, let me know, because I certainly enjoy talking about these kind of things. Sometimes I just need to get this idea out of my mind. That really helps that really helps me in a certain way as well. So if you enjoyed it, let me know, and maybe I'll post some more. I hope this has not been too boring to watch, or to listen to rather. So yeah, thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.